welcome to this episode of Behind the Wrestler. My guest at this time is none other than Daniel Martins. Thank you very much for taking the time out and sharing us your story.
Thanks, Carter. Graham's been trying to get me to do this for like 3 years, so
Yeah.
he finally nailed me down.
All right. Okay, so first and foremost question, who, when and where inspired you to become a professional wrestler, and how did you go about achieving it?
God. I don't know if there was ever like a single like who. Like I grew up watching wrestling to some degree back when. So, Carter, you're a youth, so you're probably not going to remember this.
Probably not.
me being very old. When I was a kid, there were like 4 terrestrial TV channels in New Zealand. So you had 1, 2, 3, and Channel 4, and not everyone got 4. But on Channel 4, they would play the cut down 1-hour international version of Monday Night Raw.
Right.
And so I think my earliest kind of semi-regular interaction with wrestling was that like edited down Raw, and this was right during the middle of the Attitude Era, so late 90s. Stone Cold and The Rock and all of those guys.
Right.
So kind of saw it, and I remember being very interested by it and not really knowing what was going on. But yeah, the earliest single match I can remember watching was actually a WCW match. Again, it was just randomly on TV one night, and I don't remember much about it, but I remember that it was. I remember that Hulk Hogan and Sting were in it. It was a tag match. I can't really remember who the other competitors were, but I remember the commentators talking about how Hogan's just come back from knee surgery. Like Hogan's got his knee all bandaged up, and the heels are targeting it. And me being a little kid, I'm outraged by these bad guys attacking the good guy. And yeah, so that was kind of my earliest interactions with wrestling. And then later on, kind of 2002 through 2005, my family got Sky, and by that point, the Raw and SmackDown were on Sky One, and so me and my brother would record. We'd like actually videotape record the episodes, trying to like not let our parents notice, and then we'd watch them back the next day after school before they got home, because I didn't really approve. They're like, "Oh, what's that crap?"
Yeah.
So like that was kind of the stuff that I grew up watching. John Cena was still relatively new at that point. I think he debuted 2003 or something.
Yeah.
So he was like the new heel. I remember watching like Unforgiven 2004 or 2005 with like Matt Hardy and Edge in a steel cage when they did that whole Lita cheated on you angle. Matt Hardy doing the leg drop off the top.
Yeah.
And I just remember being absolutely fascinated by it. And then 2006 came. I left home, moved to Wellington, started going to university, started buying wrestling on DVD because I could at that point. Was watching, I remember, I think the first wrestling DVD that I bought was WrestleMania 21, which had like just happened. It was all big.
Yeah.
And so anyway, like wrestling was always something that I enjoyed. And when I went off to university, I remember, so I went to Victoria in Wellington, and I remember seeing in one of the O Week guidebooks, a photo of wrestling in the uni quad.
Right.
And it was like the photo that they had, I still remember it. And later on, it turned out to be one of the guys who ended up doing some training of me, Inferno. So
Right.
it's a picture of him doing a big elbow drop off the top. I was like, oh my God, there's wrestling. And then got to university and there was no wrestling.
Right.
Like that was just a one-off. But how I ended up getting into it was I actually kind of stumbled into it. Again, dated old person reference, but back when Sounds, the music store, was still open, when people bought physical media.
Yeah.
There was they had a shop on Lambton Quay, and I was walking downtown after one of my uni classes one day, and I went into the Sounds, and I noticed that they had a section full of wrestling DVDs. Like it wasn't very big. There's like 2 rows of DVDs.
Right.
So I'm flicking through them, and the girl who was working in the store got talking to me about wrestling, and we talked a bit. And as it turned out, she was involved with Kiwi Pro Wrestling.
Right.
And she told me that, hey, like where KPW's having these like open tryouts if you wanted to get involved, if it was something you were interested in. And I was like, hell's yes. Give me the details.
Yeah.
As another like funny coincidental thing, the girl who was working in the store ended up being Tanya, who is now married to Graham Hughes.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So I owe Tanya for getting me into wrestling. Very small world.
I know, right?
Yeah, so here I am anyway, so turn up to this open tryout. And at this point I was this 19-year-old skinny fat nerd I had braces and bad Harry Potter glasses. Turned up to this tryout, and like Rip Morgan. I remember Rip Morgan was there, and Inferno. I think Johnny Juice and Max Damage might have been as well, and they were running people through.
Right.
I talked a mate of mine into going along with me, and he was at that point already quite like into the gym, and he was a relatively cut, bit of a physical specimen, and so we turned up together, and Rip Morgan was instantly keen on him, and could just tell like not interested in me in the slightest.
Oh no.
I was like, hell, I would love to be a part of this. Like, I'll do whatever. Like, if you don't want me as a wrestler or whatever, then I'll referee or I'll commentate or something.
Right.
And so they ran us through a bunch of drills. Do your rolls and stuff. Learn to take a bump. I wasn't particularly good at either of them, at anything really, because I'd played cricket and rugby much earlier on, but hadn't really done anything physical for the last 5 or 6 years.
Right.
I was pretty out of shape. And at that same tryout was Jade Diamond, who was already jacked at that time, and he's doing like full-on flip bumps on his first training.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, this guy, great, okay. So that's what I'm competing against.
Yeah.
But yeah, I struggled through it. And they were like, yeah, cool. If you're interested, if you want to keep coming back, then keep coming back. And so I started going to weekly trainings at the YMCA, which has now been torn down. It's a shame. That was a great training venue. They had like almost like a gymnastics room, like a big section of padded floor and a whole bunch of mats and stuff. And they had one of those like swimming pools filled with big foam things that you could do like run up and jump off the trampoline and do 450 splashes into it.
That's the best.
But yeah, man. So yeah, that's how I got into it. So that was 2000. It was early 2007. Right. When I first started training.
And you know, you're one of the most, few active people from KPW days. What, like, could you talk us through from, when, from your whole entire experience from KPW to pretty much, the end of it, like
Yeah.
like that whole journey of going through KPW and then,
And,
eventually going to WPW and then, now part of
yeah.
being
Okay.
CBW as well.
So, like again, a lot of this is a long time ago.
Right.
Like I'm kind of showing my age here, but this is my 14th year in New Zealand wrestling, um, and it's kind of weird because there's really not that many guys left who were doing it when I came in.
Yeah.
So like when I came into KPW, the four big stars were H Flame was the champ,
Hmm.
and you had Johnny Juice and Inferno and Max Damage, and they were like
Right.
the
Hmm.
four top guys. Um, so KPW had only been running for about a year at that point.
Hmm.
And so I wasn't around when all of this happened, but essentially, from as far as I'm aware, like KPW was like a breakaway faction from NZWPW.
Right.
So Rip Morgan and Martin Sterling didn't particularly get on as far as how they wanted the shows and the company to be run.
Hmm.
So Rip was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna leave and start up my own promotion.
Right.
So that's how KPW got started. And so some of the guys who were in WPW went with him, and some stayed in WPW.
Hmm.
And back in back in those days, there was basically just IPW, WPW, and KPW, and that was it. There was three companies, and the three companies didn't mix.
Right.
So KPW was its own thing. Wrestlers didn't work the other guys' shows. We didn't take guys off of the other companies' shows.
Right.
I think WPW and IPW had a working relationship of some kind,
Hmm.
but like KPW was very much isolated and its own little island.
Right.
Um, and they'd started running shows, like smaller shows in like tighter lower heart, that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And they did that for about a year, and then right around when I think my very first show was the first show that they ran in Wellington City, I'm pretty sure.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, we'll get to that. So come in, I'm completely new.
Hmm.
Um, the big guy, the top four are H Flame, Inferno, Johnny Juice, and Max Damage. And Inferno and Max were pretty much the trainers.
Right.
Um, like there were other guys who were around as well, like Irishman Mike Ryan, Rogue Trooper.
Hmm.
They were kind of the veterans. They'd been around since the on the mat days, like well prior to any of this.
Yeah.
But like the guys who initially started training me were Inferno and Max. Like those are the
Hmm.
guys who I would credit as being my trainers.
Right.
Um, so yeah, started training around about. So I think I was part of the I think I was part of the second KPW like intake.
Hmm.
The first one produced guys like Cade Morgan,
Right.
so 3G. I'm pretty sure Charlie Roberts came out of that first intake as well, although he'd also been training with WPW and he'd
Yeah.
gone with the Breakaway.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't really remember. I don't remember who else would have been in that first one, but like the second intake was who'd be the names out of it? So me, I think Jimmy Fox started a little bit later.
Mhm.
Chris DeLorean. Yeah, there were kind of guys coming in and going out at different points. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of them left now.
Yeah, yeah. There's
Yeah,
only a handful of people who continue to do it from
yeah,
KPW days.
yeah. Um, so anyway, started training. This is early 2007.
Mm,
Wasn't very good. Um, like I still wasn't really in shape or anything. Still wasn't
mm.
particularly athletic or particularly talented. Um, God, I remember I had like this idea of what my gimmick was going to be, and I'd started watching ECW by that point, and I was
Oh
like,
no.
oh yeah, I could be like the KPW Tommy Dreamer, but
Right.
like I don't want to have my face out there, so I'm going to wear a mask as well, because I was also like a big Japanese wrestling mark, so like
Yeah.
my gear was going to be like a Hayabusa mask and
Right.
like jeans shorts.
Best combo.
Oh god, just I look back and cringe. Like I told Max Damage about it, and he just shit all over it with good reason. It's
Yeah.
like, no, you're not doing that.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah. Um. So yeah, I started training. I wasn't very good. Um. I couldn't. I wasn't like because I wasn't really in shape. I would get hurt quite a bit. Like
Mhm.
I've always been relatively injury prone, but like yeah, it wasn't. It was just one of those things. I couldn't get the hang of like the basic back bump. Just
Right.
could not get it. And I remember getting Irishman Mike Ryan to give me a hand one day, and he was like, "Okay, so you kick your feet up, kid."
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm trying, Mike, but my brain like kicks in and it won't let me fall backwards because I think I'm gonna hit my head. He's like, okay, cool, I'll give you a hand. So he's like, okay, I'm gonna shove you in the chest. You take a bump, okay?
Yeah.
So he shoves me in the chest, and I take like the world's worst back bump. Like feet don't come off the ground, just kind of fall, and a head goes back, and I hit it.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, cool. So I'm gonna hit you a little harder this time. And so this goes on until like he's just hitting me progressively harder and harder until he's basically
Mm.
full on lariating me as a way of trying to get me to take a bump properly.
Right.
Uh, yeah, I was not good. And so because I wasn't good, they weren't gonna like they weren't ready to put me on shows. Like,
Mm.
yeah, that's fair enough. But what they did need was referees. So at that point, the refs in KPW were Blair Rhodes.
Mm.
I should have said, yeah, I forgot. Blair had been with WPW and had gone over in the switch.
Right.
And Charlie Roberts had also been a referee at that point, but he
Mm.
was transitioning into being a manager.
Right.
He was also, I think he'd been training, but he'd hurt his knee. And so he was taking some time off of training and just doing managing for a while.
Mm.
But yeah, so they needed a ref. I was like, hell yeah, I'll be your referee. So Blair remained the head ref, and I became like junior assistant referee.
Right.
And the very first show that I got to work was that first show that was in Wellington. So
Mm.
that was at Wellington High School. I want to say June or July 2007. The show
Right.
was called Slam Time City.
Mhm.
And having never worked a show before at this point, I still basically knew nothing. I was very green. So they gave me one match,
Right.
and that was Rogue Trooper, so the veteran versus Jan O'Rourke, and I think it was Jan's first match, or
Mm.
J.E. O'Rourke. Um, and so I like met up with them before the show. It's like, cool, what do you want to do? Blah blah blah. And they walked me through it. It's like, cool, this is what the finish is going to be. And Trooper was going over. He was going over with a roll up.
Right.
So get to the match. um, in the ring, nervous as all hell, sweating bullets. was a decent crowd. I think it was 300 plus. Like we used to draw good crowds at those Wellington High School shows. Anyway, going through the match, I'm really bad. I'd kind of had a couple of brief trainings with Blair on how to be a referee, but I hadn't really taken anything in, and I was completely inexperienced. Anyway, Trooper hits his finisher, which was a fisherman suplex. I go down to make the count. 1, 2. John doesn't kick out, and I don't count 3. Yeah. So
no.
they'd changed the finish and they hadn't told me.
Right.
And at this point, I was way too green to like, because that's the cardinal, like that's the rule of being a referee.
Right.
Like you count, you're making those counts, and they are real counts. If the wrestler doesn't kick out and you hit 3, that's the end of the match. It's the wrestler's fault, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what you get drummed into you. You kick out when you're supposed to kick out. It is not the ref's fault if they count 3 and you didn't kick out. But
that's absolutely
I
true.
didn't count 3.
Oh,
it was really obvious. Like, crowd was like, what was that? And I'm like, oh, shit, how do I cover this? I was like, it was 2. And, like, as soon as I say it was 2, John, like, pulls his shoulder up. I was like, oh, God. I kind of say to Trooper, like, what was that? Was it a roll-up? And he doesn't say anything back to me, and he hits something else.
Right.
And I go down again and go, 1, 2, rope break.
Oh, no.
And John puts his foot on the ropes. I'm like, what's going on? Where's the roll-up? Why isn't he kicking out?
Right.
So, yeah, it was the drizzling shits, man. It was so bad.
Uh-oh.
So, Trooper hits one more thing. I was just like, screw it. 1, 2, 3. Get the hell out of there. Go backstage.
Yeah.
I was terrified. It's like, oh no, I've screwed up. I'm never gonna, like, Rip's never gonna give me another match. They're gonna kick me out of the company. It's the worst thing ever.
Right.
And no one cared. It was the thing. Like, it was a rookie mistake. You know, Rip was like, it happens, and yeah. I learned a very valuable lesson that day.
Yeah. Just count the 3.
Yeah. Like, I think ever since that day, whenever I've refereed a match, like before I've done it, I've been talking to the guys. I'm like, right, remember to kick out, because I'm counting 3. If you don't kick out, it's your own damn fault.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that was the way that it went. I settled into being a referee. I kept training, but I had kind of periodic injuries. I was never at the point where I was kind of good enough to wrestle, and I was happy being a ref. I had some personal shit going on in the background as well. So kind of that in conjunction with injuries meant that I got quite fat. Like, I was never really in good shape starting out, but then I kind of got proper fat. Like, like now I walk around at about 84, 85 kilos.
Nice.
I definitely could be leaner, but yeah. Kind of early, so like gets to about mid 2010. I'm still refereeing, I'm still training, but I'm also like 103 kilo. And it wasn't a good 103 either. Like, there's no way that I was prepared to have my shirt off on a show, and nobody would have wanted to see that. So yeah. Anyway, mid 2010, I was like, right, I need to actually deal with this stuff. I need to get into shape. Like, I'm still interested in wrestling. I still want to do this. Like, I need to actually start taking it seriously.
Yeah.
But it was also like, it was mainly about taking my health seriously. Like, Yeah, it was not a good scene. Um, so yeah, I started started working out properly. Um, Charlie Roberts was good enough to help with training me, like in the gym and stuff.
Yeah.
That guy, man. Like I legitimately would not be where I am without him.
Yeah, I think
And
most people without his help wouldn't be where they are.
yeah,
Yeah.
that man. Goddamn.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, we he helped to get me in shape. Uh, Later on, it would have been I can't remember exactly when I debuted as a wrestler,
Mm.
but it would have been was 2011 or 2012. Um, and I think somewhat so. My first match was against a guy called Mark Fremantle. He doesn't
Right.
wrestle anymore. He was a KPW guy.
Mm.
He came in after me. His his gimmick was the kind of stereotypical Canadian thing, like came to the ring with a Canadian flag.
Flag. Yeah.
He was basically ripping off Petey Williams at that point. Like he'd do the thing where he'd put you in the tree of woe and stand on your balls and go, "Oh Canada."
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, like very just ripping off TNA Petey Williams. Um, and I can't remember if he was supposed to wrestle someone else or if they just booked it. But um, there was a gimmick in KPW that got handed around a lot, and it was a masked one
Yeah.
called El Condor.
Right.
Um, so up until that point, El Condor had always been kind of the joke wrestler. Like he was, if you were putting a trainee in for their first match, you'd put them in this terrible old mask. It was like it was so disgusting. There was like blood stains on the inside of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, or I think that was there was a match where it was Mike Ryan and Chris DeLorean, but Chris was under the mask as El Condor.
Oh
I think
yeah.
Mike lariated him in the face and like busted up his nose. So
Oh
there's like
no.
all these blood stains in the mask from that. And nobody ever washed the
Nice.
damn thing.
Oh nice.
Yeah, it was real gross. Uh, anyway, I was like, well, hell, um, they gave me the chance to be El Condor.
Mhm.
And I was like, yeah, why not? Like, I don't want to give up reffing because by that point I was head referee for KPW. Blair had moved into commentating full time and
Right.
show announcing and stuff, and he was very, very good at that. He's a very
Right.
good ref, but yeah, I think he's the perfect, the perfect guy on the mic.
Yeah.
Um, so I bought myself a mask, and it was like basically a nice version of the El Condor mask.
Mm.
And the El Condor mask is a lucha door called Hysteria.
Yeah.
And so I got this fancy black and yellow version of it with all these tassels and stuff, and it was mine. I was like, cool, I'm gonna make this El Condor gimmick my own.
Mm.
Um, got some gear made. Ooh, this meeting no longer has. Okay, cool. I guess we don't have
Yeah.
time on it. Got some gear made. Uh,
Mm.
the pleather shorts that everyone was rocking in the around 2010.
Yeah.
The indie
Everybody.
worker.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Everybody.
yeah. Um, Curtis Castlewood's sister made them for me. I know,
She
right?
also made your jacket, right?
Oh yeah, she made my raincoat. That was later on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, got the gear. Had my first match. Wasn't terrible. Wasn't great. I
Mm.
have it. I have the footage of it actually. My girlfriend at the time came along and filmed it for me on my terrible little camera. So the footage is all grainy, but I have the footage of my first match, which is really funny looking back. Um, like it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. I've
Yeah.
definitely seen worse matches. um, so we just did the very basic structure. Mark was still pretty new at the time. I was brand spanking new.
Right.
So go through the stuff. Ends up hot comeback. I'm on the top. I hit him with a back suplex, set him up for coming off the top rope. Like I didn't have any moves at this point. It's like, okay, I'm just gonna go to the top. And I go up to the top, and he sweeps my legs out from under me, and I crotch myself on the ropes. On the footage of the match, you can hear my girlfriend going, "Oh no, his testicles!" So Mark comes over, gives me the rocket launcher off the top. I take the big flip bump, and he comes and puts me in the sharpshooter, and I tap out. Right. First match down. Not great, but it was a thing. And then I went backstage, quickly got changed, and came back out and refereed some more.
Like nothing.
So that's
happened.
what I did. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like that was the thing. Like I didn't have the beard at that time, so it was kind of less obvious that this guy who was under the mask is now the guy who's reffing.
Right.
And so I did that for a while. I would wrestle early on in the card, do the opening match or something, be El Condor, just go out and get killed most of the time. Come backstage, get changed, and be the referee. And yeah, that's basically what I did until KPW ended up closing down. So that would have been 2013, I think, was the last KPW show. I think
so, yeah.
Yeah, I did it for KPW for what, 7-8 years. Like the entirety of that time, I missed 2 shows. I was at almost every single show.
Oh wow.
And yeah, I mean, hell, I made friends in KPW who I still consider to be my very best friends today. Like, come up through it together, and yeah, it was just, it was a great place to. I think it was a great place to learn. It was a great place to work shows and to kind of get the hang of wrestling. Rip Morgan was very old school in what he liked, and he wanted the product to be a very particular thing. Like he very much wanted it to be almost a repeat of like the WWF in the early 90s and that kind of thing. Like a lot of character work, a lot of distinctive characters and gimmicks and that kind of thing.
Right.
So like everyone had their own thing. It wasn't just like it's kind of hard to explain. Like everyone had their own particular gimmicks, and there wasn't anyone who was just kind of, you know, an anonymous guy. If you know what I mean. Like everyone had something.
Yeah.
And yeah, like we learned, because all of the shows were filmed, like we learned the importance of like ring positioning and working towards the hard cam. So like it was all done like as if it was for TV.
Right.
Like we in 2009, before I debuted as a wrestler, like we filmed the first wrestling TV show in New Zealand since On the Mat had gone off the air, and it was Off the Ropes. And like we spent 4 days in this warehouse shooting all of these episodes. And so it was like a very TV driven production and like that's what the shows were like. It was all it was a business.
Right.
Like it was run like a business. It wasn't run like a club or anything like that. And I think probably the best comparison I could make with like wrestling of New Zealand wrestling of today would be SPW,
Right.
Southern Pro. like those guys, I see a lot of what KPW was going for, and they've
Right.
kind of been the ones to actually pull it off.
Yeah. They've done some amazing stuff since they've opened up. So
Yeah, but like
um,
the way that their company seems to be run,
mm,
like it's very much that level of professionalism.
right.
Like that's what, yeah, I think that's what Gary wanted, what Rip wanted. Like he didn't want to just be, doing shows in a little hall and charging $5 for entry. He always
Yeah.
wanted it to be bigger and bigger and bigger. But yeah, I mean, uh, there were, who knows,
Yeah.
some stuff happened. Um, like not a whole lot of people know all of the details, but like KPW kind of got screwed out of a deal, and it is what it
Yeah.
is. Like
Yeah. It is what it is.
Rip,
Yeah.
yeah, Rip lost his passion,
Yeah.
and yeah, the company just kind of quietly shut down.
Mm.
The last show I think was in 2013. Like the belts are still floating around there.
Yeah.
I think
Belts are still floating around. Yeah.
yeah, I think Shane Sinclair is still technically the KPW champion.
I think so.
Um,
Yeah. I think he still has that belt too.
yeah,
Yeah.
the tag belts changed hands a couple of times after the company shut down, but
I think so. Yeah. It's
I don't,
changed a lot.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, hell, I miss KPW. Like there was some good times, some
Mm.
very good times.
And like, you know, when Graham got introduced to the fold and you
Oh
met
yeah,
Graham, along the way through KPW,
yeah,
when he came in and, was training people and passing on his knowledge, which he still does to this day, pretty much trying to be like the voice of reason with everybody else and trying to bring everybody together,
mm,
which, it's not a hard thing to do. It's a lot of hard work, but I
mm.
think he's managed to pull it off. But it took him like a very very long time to do
Oh
it.
yeah.
Um,
Like even at the point where KPW kind of shut down, uh, Gary had become Rip Morgan had become more open to having like certain other guys from different companies on the cards.
right.
Um, I remember we had Taylor Adams versus Johnny Idol on one card, like
Mm,
two dub guys, and like
right.
they had a match on our card. But like it was still, yeah, like people advocated for, we should be trying to work more with the other guys, like
Yeah.
because KPW like only, like if you were a KPW guy, you didn't work other shows, so you would only work those shows,
Yeah.
but they were also only
Yeah.
running 4 or 5 shows a year, so it's hard
Yeah.
to get good doing that. You can train all you want, but unless you're actually getting show time, like time in front of the
Mm,
crowd, like there's only so good that you're going to get.
yeah.
Um, so that would have been good. Like I think if we could have worked with the other companies more, because hell, there were guys who I definitely wanted to wrestle,
Mm.
who I couldn't. But yeah,
And then like after all of that, gradually stuff happened, and then you started doing shows for other companies and stuff, and
yeah.
actually,
So after KPW kind
mm,
of ran its last show, the ones of us who had still kind of been training regularly tried to like keep the trainings
right,
going, and we went to a few dub shows and stuff, and we for a little while we trained at Hetoa with some of the dub
mm,
guys. Um, that yeah, that didn't work out in the long run, for reasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, we kind of went back to training on mats.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, kind of. I think when was the first Hughes show?
July 14th, 2014.
Yeah. So around like that first Hughes show had quite a bit of KPW talent on it.
Yes.
Like I refereed most of it.
Yes.
But I was also in the opening match.
Mm-hmm.
It was me under the
condom.
El Condor mask against El Grindo, who was Jimmy Fox under a Blue Demon mask, and we were against Styx. And that was the very first match I ever won. It was my very first victory. I'd jobbed out every single other match I'd ever had.
Yeah.
And Graham said, "Oh, Dan, you're going over tonight."
What's
like,
happening?
I always lose. So yeah, I gave El Grindo a pop-up powerbomb.
Yeah.
Terrible. Oh,
yeah.
I've got the footage from that match as well. It's not great.
Yeah.
I don't like triple threats, but like I take there's a spot where I take a tornado DDT and I just go like bleh, on my head and I jack up my neck real bad. You can see it. And I go for like a crossbody off the top at one point and just really slip terribly, and it's the worst high flying shit you've ever seen. Yeah, like there's a reason I don't come. Yeah. So I think around about then is when we started to work some of the WPW shows as well. So we would like people would come up and work for Graham, and we started to be allowed on WPW stuff. Yeah, because Charlie Roberts at the time was working the Rodeo Drive faction with Chad Howard, so they were a tag team, and he was like WPW guy, and they had Bryant as their enforcer, and so like they moved into WPW for that stuff. El Condor. Got my very first title match on a WPW show, actually. It was when Dreamcatcher was the champ, and like it was just kind of a joke match. Like he comes out and does an open challenge, and nobody comes out. He's like, "Oh, I'm challenging anyone in the back," and then I come out in my mask, and him and his crony JC Star just like 2-on-1 beat the shit out of me for a while.
Yeah.
God. Yeah. So yeah, kind of went from I went from being a KPW guy to being basically an independent contractor. Like I would work wherever would have me, whenever they wanted. I think my first match not masked was for a Hughes
when
show.
Graham said that he didn't want you to be on the mask and actually establish you as something.
Which, I mean, looking back, I didn't want to do it. Like, I did not want to do it. I wanted to keep reffing as well, and I also like didn't want I don't know. I just really felt the pressure of having my face out there. Like, yeah. I wanted to be anonymous because I was more like I was still very much like, you know, people. I don't want them to see me out there.
Yeah.
Was that show? I think it was it was either the first show that I met you at, which I think was that terrible one on the high school lawn. Where they canceled. So
that's the one. Yeah, that's the one that I met you first.
Was that your first show?
That was my first show. Okay. Yeah. Well, unofficially first show, but yeah, it was. This one I first met you.
Oh, that was the shits. So my first match was either that one or it was. I know I did another match not in the mask at one of Graham's
Yes.
December tournaments, and I can't remember which one was first. But so it was either that one where I wrestled Curtis Castlewood, and we broke the ring.
Yeah, you guys did.
Oh, it was so bad.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, so it was either that one or I wrestled Charlie Roberts at one of those December
Yeah,
tournament shows.
I think it was the very first. No, it was yeah. So when we started doing the December, like moved it to December, it was the first December one that we did,
which
and it was
might
the
have
first
been
one
the second or the third annual tournament.
Yeah, I think it was
Maybe.
either
It might have
2015
been,
or 16. It was one of those.
yeah, might have been 15.
I think it was 15 because
It's
like
something around about
yeah,
then.
because like I saw you at the first show of ours, and then I didn't see you for a while, and then I saw you like a year after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that match with Charlie Roberts was my first good match. Like my first match where I could actually look back and go, okay, I made a couple of mistakes, but that's a good match.
Yeah.
And it just shows you how important having a good opponent can be, because
Yes.
Charlie can drag anyone to a good match.
Oh man, he could. If you can't pull a good match with Charlie Roberts, then you need to go back
Quit
to training,
wrestling.
or that. It's like, hey,
just
like,
quit.
like he worked his ass off to get to the level that he is now, and there's a reason why everyone's like, if you want to make a name for yourself, or if you want to test your limits and see where you want to get better, Charlie's the guy to do it with.
Oh yeah, yep. He always brings the cardio with the dick.
He does. It's him and Shane. It's him and Shane Sinclair that always brings the cardio game. It's always them two.
Oh yeah. I need to do more cardio. Like we're just coming out of lockdown now. I've done nothing but weights for 3 weeks, or 3 months. Was at the seminar that Niwa was running the other day, yesterday, and I am ridiculously sore, and I blew up almost immediately. So
oh god,
yeah.
Having to do a Niwa seminar is like once in a blue moon, because he hasn't been in the country for 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, yeah, I got to do this, and I figured it would be a good way of like taking a few bumps before the first show back, and I'm
definitely,
sore. And yeah, I will be doing a lot of cardio in the next 3 weeks.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so I was kind of having sporadic matches at that point. But around about that time, like 2015, 16-ish, I also started having trouble with my neck and my shoulder. Like I'd hurt my neck a while back. I landed on my head at a training, and I was like, and my body scorpioned over, and then I was just like lying there going, oh shit, am I paralyzed?
Yeah.
I was like, no, I can move my toes, but yeah, my neck still clicks if I press in it at the right point. But I also started having trouble with my shoulder. Just years of wear and tear, and also being an idiot and not training properly and not doing not actually working out the way I should have been, and not rehabbing old injuries. And so it kept getting worse, and that it would flare up, and I wouldn't work shows for a while. And yeah, I ended up having I had a match against Curtis Castlewood for Graham.
Yeah.
And that would have been October 2015, I want to say.
Yeah, it was either 15 or 16, because you took like a year off.
It was. I think I took a year and a half off.
Yeah, you took a year and a half off.
I think it was 2015. So into 2015, I had this match against Curtis, working face, which it seems weird now, but like,
big meanie.
Yeah, since I took the mask off, I'd always been a good guy, which I didn't like, but yeah. Had this match against Curtis. I shouldn't have been wrestling. Like my shoulder was not in good shape,
Right.
and as a result, I wasn't in good shape.
Mhm.
Like I've got the footage for that as well, and if I watch it, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my god, I'm so fat, it's terrible. Like I'm not moving well. Like I should have taken some time off, and we had a decent match. It was a
Yeah.
fun match, but I kind of sat back afterwards and I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like
Yeah.
I need to get myself healthy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went no training, no taking bumps, no matches anymore. I continued to ref for WPW
Yeah.
and kind of sporadic shows of theirs. And yeah, I just took a year and a half off. I was like, right, I'm gonna rehab everything. I'm gonna try to get healthy. So I dropped a bunch of weight. Because yeah, I'd lost a bunch of I'd kind of lost a bunch of weight when I started actually wrestling
Yeah.
beforehand,
Mm.
but I was back up around 93-ish kilos at that point. It's like
Yeah.
not in good shape for, and it wasn't muscle either.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was just yeah, this I wasn't skinny fat anymore. I was just kind of leaning towards fat.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, because
Um,
I remember you taking like having that match, and then you taking that year and a half off to get better and get healthier, which in my opinion was the right decision for you.
oh
Um,
yeah,
because you came back, it was like, oh, who's this? We don't know this Daniel Martins. Like, what happened to you? Like, you're like
thanks,
skinny and
baby.
jacked, and like, hey, what's going on? But I remember when Graham told me, he goes, okay, so I've kind of kept it a surprise because I kind of didn't want to blur it out everywhere, but I didn't want you to know because I wanted to rib you at the same time, which he loves doing. Um,
Yeah, that's
he
Graham.
he told me that, hey, someone's coming back. He's taken some time off, but he's coming back, and he is finally going to do our show because I finally convinced him to. And I kind of
Yeah, bloody.
I kind of guessed, and then I was like, oh, is that who I think it is? And then he was like, you're probably not thinking of the right person. And then I was like, and then he told me, he's like, so it's Daniel Martins. He's going to be at the show. You're his opponent. No pressure, but your whole entire match is to try and convince him to come back for multiple shows because
Yeah,
and I'm like, okay, thank you,
yeah.
thank you for the opportunity, but I told him like there's better people that you could put him against, but he's like, no, he specifically asked for you, and I'm just like, okay, um, no pressure, but okay, I'll do my best. And I remember talking to him just before you turned up to the show, because we were just making your new entrance video, and which which we made that day, and like
Oh,
and I was
and it
just
would have
sitting
just
there.
been, it would have been whatever like terrible footage Graham had of me from like 3 years previously.
Yeah, so he lined up
Oh,
everything, but it was just like we're trying to get like some badass like real like good music for you. So we just went on YouTube and typed up something, and they're
was
like,
it?
yeah,
And
cool.
I think if I remember rightly, the way that Graham found the music that he ended up using was he looked for anime evil.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Oh,
So you're like, oh,
I
okay,
used
cool,
that song
this
forever.
works. Oh yeah, man. Oh man, it's so good. Like he just put
It was a
everything
good song.
together. Yeah, like he put everything together. We had it all rendered, and then and like as soon as you walk in the door, he plays your music because it was ready, and I was like, oh my god.
Oh, I was like, you, God damn it, Graham, making me look like a mark. Oh, yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah,
So that was mid 2017 is when I came back.
I think
So
so.
I'd
Yeah.
been talking to Graham. Um, I'd been talking to Graham about making a comeback because like I'd rehabbed myself. I'd gotten into much better shape than I had been, and I've dropped a bunch of weight.
Mhm.
Um, and Graham wanted me to come back for a show June-ish, I think, but I couldn't make it because of work and flights and stuff.
Mhm.
So my first show back ended up being for Maniacs. Um, Stacey gave me a match against Kingston,
Yeah.
um, and yeah, we had a good match. and I tore my goddamn hamstring making my entrance.
Yeah, I remember that too.
Oh, it was so bad. Like it was also my first time working heel,
Yeah.
so I'd never worked heel before. Um, like I'm backstage, my music hits. What did I use as? Oh yeah, I used some metal song that I'm a fan of as entrance
Yeah.
music.
Yeah.
Not the one that I would use forever afterwards. I'm backstage, like behind the curtain, and I'm like, shit, what does a heel do when they go out? And like the beat hits, and I was like, okay, I have to go out. So I just like go out and I like stare at the crowd, and there's no reaction because I'm not doing anything to get a reaction from them.
Yeah.
I was like, screw you people. I walk to the ring, get in the ring, get up on the ropes. I'm like, yeah, get down. Start doing the Goku side to side
Yeah.
stretch just to loosen up a bit because I should have been stretching backstage and I hadn't been. I go stretch, 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 ping,
Yeah.
and something in my hammy goes. I was like, oh no. And you can see on the footage, I kind of stand up, flex my leg a little bit, and say to the ref, "I've just screwed my leg up."
Yeah.
um, oh yeah. So me and Kingston had this match. I thought it was a pretty good match. I'd uh, one of the other reasons that I kind of took a while off was because I'd had a couple of concussions in the kind of 2 years previously.
Yeah.
And I was starting to get like migraines and stuff. And so I was like, yeah, I want to try to avoid any more head trauma if I can.
Mm.
And like Kingston's known for being a snug worker.
Yeah.
You know, if he hits you, he's going to lay it in,
Yeah,
right?
he is.
Like he's not one of these guys who works really light, and
Yeah.
I don't mind that at all. Like I would much rather that you give me something to sell than give me a little tap
Yeah.
and expect me to like take a big bump off it.
Yeah.
But I asked him before the match, like, please don't hit me in the head.
Mm.
Like it's first match back. I've had these head issues. I just want to like try to get back into it before I'm taking anything like that. So like go hard to the body, like chop the shit out of me,
Yeah.
go for it, and he did.
Yeah. Oh,
um,
he loves his chops.
like oh yeah, I had like the handprint
Yeah.
things for days. We worked a spot where he would like wind up. What do we do? We like worked like a trade-off spot where I like gave him a chop and he like no sells it and gives me a massive chop and I take a big bump and I'm like, ah! And it wasn't selling.
Yeah.
It was real. So yeah, so we had that match. It was pretty good. Apart from the blown hammy, like there's one point in the match where he gives me a single leg.
Yeah.
And he takes me down with the left leg, with like because you work the left. The left leg was the leg that I happened to have.
Pulled your
So
hammy.
like I take this bump, and instead of selling the bump, you can immediately see me grab my leg and go ah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got through it. I looked after looked after the leg, tried to baby it a bit for a while afterwards. Yeah, that was my first match back, and after that, I was like, yeah, you know what, that was a lot of fun. I have actually missed this.
Yeah.
So I said to Graham, hell, I'm in. When's your next show? And then that started a run of I think 2 uninterrupted years of Graham shows.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I think the only shows of his that I missed were like the smaller ones at like the Cruising Club or
Yeah. The cruising and the
like
RSA stuff.
yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I did every Graham show. Bar one when I ended up in hospital. I was supposed to wrestle you? Or I think I might have been supposed to wrestle Matty Short.
I think it was short.
And then that got put off, and I ended up missing that one, and then he ended up missing the next one, so I never got to wrestle Matty.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like I had my first match back against you.
Yeah.
sold you Spear really badly, and I'm sorry.
That's all right. I shouldn't have started doing the spear because of my size and how I look, but I did it pure as a rib at training once, and it popped
Roman Reigns.
Kathleen, Frankie, and Sam. It popped pop Rob, Kathleen, and Frankie, and
Yeah,
Graham said you're doing that from now on, and I'm just oh great.
bloody Graham.
Skinny little kid spearing bigger men than him makes perfect sense.
Man, but yeah, like we had our match and it was good. I think I haven't watched it back in a while, but I think I legitimately think that we had a good match.
Yeah.
That gave me the kind of the confidence to be like, okay, well, hell, why not? Like, I'll come back relatively full time now.
Yeah.
So I made myself available for WPW as well. I started working the me gimmick. I wasn't El Condor anymore. I was Daniel Martins. So yeah, I think we wrestled like 4 to 6 times in that first year that I came back. Like a couple for Graham and a couple for WPW.
Dub and a couple for Maniacs and
yeah.
yeah.
So like I worked mostly for Hughes and WPW with the odd Maniacs show thrown in as well. Those Maniac shows were always fun. I just couldn't commit to the amount of time away from home. Like I was kind of wrestling every 2 weeks ish. Like I think that first year or that first 6 months back, like the rest of 2017.
Right.
After I came, the rest of 2017 after I came back, I had like 10 matches or something, and then the next year I had 25 or something. Like, there's definitely more wrestling in Auckland. Like you can definitely work more often. And I just couldn't afford to fly up for every single show, so I was like, okay, cool, I'll commit to doing all of the Graham ones, and I'll do whatever's in Wellington as well. So yeah. After about, I would have been back almost a year. No, it would have been like March 2018, I think. And Graham says, "I want to put the belt on you."
Yeah, he did.
I was like, "Yeah, okay," because he'd wanted me to have it earlier.
He did,
I remember, and I said, "No, I'm not ready." Like I was still kind of finding myself as a performer, I guess, if that makes any sense, Like I don't know. I've never considered myself to be a great wrestler, like ever. Like there are people in New Zealand who I consider to be great wrestlers, and I'm not one of them. I think that where I am now, I am a good wrestler. You could put me in a match against most people and we'll have a decent match, I think. Like there are people who I can wrestle against who I think we can have a great match. But I'm never going to be the Charlie Roberts who can like pull someone to a great match, Like I'm solid but unremarkable. I'll put it that way. And hell, I'm happy with that. Like you can always strive to be better, and that's like what I do. But I'm too broken down, and there's too many things that I can't do, and I'm aware of those limitations, and I try to work around them. But at that point, I didn't really have the confidence, so I was like, "No, Graham, like, don't put it on me yet." And then he was like, later on, he was like, "Cool, you're getting the belt. It's going to be you against Kartik." I think that was supposed to be in March.
It was.
2018,
I
and then
had the
you got
chicken
the goddamn
pox.
chicken pox.
I did. I really did. I got the chicken pox, and I
Yep,
couldn't be at the show.
yep. So I turn up for the show, and yeah, I think I found out the day of the show as well. So I turn up. It's like, cool. He had to wrestle Kardak. He's got what? Like, how do you
Yeah.
not get that as a kid?
I don't know.
um, yeah. So I ended up wrestling Charlie, and we had a good match.
Yeah.
We had a really good match actually.
Yeah. He stepped
and,
in. He stepped in for me.
Yeah. I beat him, so I remained the number one contender.
Yeah.
And then we had our match in May. Yeah, I think it was May 2018 because it was 3 days. Yeah, it was because it was 3 days before I went to Japan.
Yeah, and it was 3 days. It was 3 days before my surgery. So.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy, right? I didn't tell it. I
Like,
didn't tell anybody about that except for the people who needed to know.
God. Yeah, I think we had a good match. Like, I don't know. Watching it back now, there's things that I would have done differently. Like, it's very much a story match. Like,
Yeah.
it's not a great athletic competition. It's very much us trying to tell the story of me being an evil prick and you being the underdog.
Yeah.
Which that works. But I can't. Yeah, I think if I was to plan it out now, like with another couple of years of experience under my belt, I think I would do it differently. But it is what it is, right?
Hey man, never
We
say never.
had a good match.
Yeah, we did. Never say never, but we can. We'll always. We will always have the opportunity at some point to wrestle each other again.
That would be nice.
Whether
It's been too long.
Yeah, whether it's for a belt or whether it's whether the stakes are high or stakes are low, or whatever. Always love stepping in the ring with you because, so much from our first match to our last match, which was for the belt. And then you and I haven't had a one-on-one match since.
We haven't, have we? Man.
Yeah,
it's funny because we had like a ton of matches in the space of a year, and then none.
Yeah. None. Yeah, and then because you won the belt that night, and I got the belt on you, which represented as a the Hughes Academy champion very well. And I think Graham didn't make
Thanks,
a
man.
wrong. Graham didn't when Graham picks his champions, or when he picks the people that he thinks have worked their asses off to earn it, because he doesn't give it to anybody and everybody. You really you have to earn it. Like he may be soft-hearted, but when it comes down to it, he is when it's down to business, he really gets down to business. And that's just a reflection of everything that he's gone through and all the trainings that he's gone through and all the people that he's learned off, and him trying to pass it down to the people he gives the opportunity to. And some people may looked at as in that, I do deserve this opportunity, and he will rightfully shut you down.
Yeah, he had to convince me.
Yeah, he really did. He
like,
really did. Yeah, he really did have to convince you.
I was happy in that mid card spot, but I think it was good for me in the long run as well. Like he forced me to be in the main event, and it kind of it forced me to get better.
Yeah.
Because I could have stayed there and just kept kind of coasting, having solid matches, but never really going for great because you don't want to outshine the guys in the main. But then, I don't know. I always tried to represent it well. Yeah. I've seen what ego does to a wrestler.
Yeah.
I've been on shows and there's people backstage who think they're hot shit.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And sometimes rightfully so, maybe they are hot shit.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't. That's not me. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I tried to. I did the best I could. Like, trying to, you know, not just be that representative of the company in the ring, but
Mm.
like backstage and stuff as well. Like trying to set an example for the younger boys. You know.
And like when Graham and Tanya pick the people who are going to have the belts, um, they don't just look at the in ring ability. They don't just look at the physical ability. They look at everything, whether it's inside the ring, whether it's outside the ring, whether you are at training, whether you're not at training. Everything, they look at everything, and then
Mm.
be like, okay, I think this person will be suitable to put the belt on because they've proven that not only in and out of the ring that they deserve it, but they they will represent it really well.
Yeah,
And I don't think I deserved it, but at either times. But he would disagree with you because
I
you
think
know
you did, bro.
he had to convince us both because like every person who has been Hughes Academy champion always thought this as you and I like we don't want to be in the main event. We don't like we're happy
Yeah,
with what we're happy with what we're doing now. But like they kind of force us to be like, here's an
yeah.
opportunity.
It's a funny thing that Graham does.
It
Like
does, yeah.
he forces you to get better whether you want to or not.
Well, with it happy of where you are right now,
Yeah,
he's not happy where you are. He wants to keep pushing you and make you better and push you past your limits. And
yeah,
that's one of the things that I love about those two is that they will tell you straight. Like they won't sugarcoat anything. It's like, hey, this is the reason why you need to do this.
mm,
And then like, Graham will sit you down, whether he tells you soft-heartedly or whether he tells you how it needs to be said. And they always motivate you, and it's
mm,
always motivating. So it's just like, okay, cool. If you're trusting me to do this, then best to step up my game. And I think um, everybody who's had that opportunity has stepped up their game and um, kind of forced them to step up their game as well.
yeah,
Because like being champion is one thing, but showing that you have like the champion aspects of things is a whole different thing because not many people have that.
mm,
um Most people are just like, give me the belt because I'm hot shit.
yeah. Like that's not what it's about, or
No.
it's not what it should be about. Like
Yeah.
it should, like maybe the best wrestler should be the champion, but also, mm, you know,
Yeah.
it
But
is what
like
it is.
yeah, so like I think him convincing you to and you're pretty much forcing you to step up your game and everything. I think it only improved your work,
Yeah,
motivated
definitely.
you, motivated you a hell lot more to not only just perform at a different level, but continue to perform at a different level.
Mm,
When you eventually when you lose the belt, his goal and their goal is, okay, we've given you this opportunity, you stepped up your game. Now it doesn't mean that you downgrade. You continue to do that work because you've
mm,
been champion before. Like just because you don't have the belt doesn't mean you have to stop doing that. It means you continue doing that. And I
yeah,
think they really force us to be like make it not only make ourselves better as a wrestler, but also a better version of ourselves as well. Which which most people don't really give a shit, but those two actually do. And it's it's a
yeah,
rarity. It's a rarity to find those sort of people, and it's even rare to when you find them to like be like, I need to make them proud and earn their respect and stuff. But like I think you like in your opinion you don't think that you're in that Charlie Roberts category, but in other people's
no,
opinion and people that look up to you, like like myself, guys like Spencer, guys like Darren, Sam, and everybody else that looks up to you puts you in that category of Charlie Roberts. It's like me and Spencer had this little bet going on of wrestling the core four of KPW is what we call it. So
you mean the four of us who are left?
Yes, the four of you that are left, because that's only
Because
four
we're all
that's
old.
So you got yourself, you got Shane Sinclair, you got Charlie Roberts, and then you got Jimmy Fox. It was kind of like it was pretty funny because like it took me a long time to get an opportunity to wrestle Jimmy Fox because he was the last one on my list. But I can say I can officially say I've wrestled the core four from KPW. So and getting to wrestle all you guys, and like I learned so much from each and every one of you, and I think Graham giving me the opportunity to wrestle with you when you first came back was like a lot of pressure on my shoulders, because like I don't think I was the person that you needed to come back with, but
don't be hard on yourself, man. Like
I tried my best to convince you to stay.
I think we worked really well together. Like I'm glad that Graham gave me you coming back. Like I think my first 3 matches coming back for the Hughes Academy were you, and then Spencer, and then Charlie.
Yeah.
In that order. And
yeah,
I think like those 3 matches and having 3 good matches like re-cemented my desire to be part of the business, Like hell, I'm sorry. Yeah. Anyway, what else do you want to know?
Okay, so you've had a singles one with a belt and everything, and you came up with a tag team with Mr. Jimmy Fox. Yep. Let's talk about this, shall we? Okay, how did this come about? How did you guys join the team, and how was it, making it into like the storyline of where it's kind of like an affair kind of thing with
with little bit.
Yeah, so like and then Charlie Roberts comes into the fold, and then you guys have a blow off match. Let's talk through this.
Okay, so me and Jimmy go way back. Like we've known each other since he started training in KPW, and he was still in high school at that point.
Oh wow!
Like, yeah, like I'm 32 now. This is my 14th year in wrestling. Like, started training in 2007. God, I'm old. So yeah, I've known Jimmy a long time, and we've been mates for a long time. And for ages, we've talked about like doing a tag team thing. He's spent longer periods out of the business. Sorry, I just got a notification I'll get rid of. There we go. He'd taken a while off as well. Kind of, we were active at different points.
Right.
Like after KPW shut down, I think he went inactive for a while, and then I went inactive, and then he went inactive, and back and forth. And then I think start of last year, or the end of 2018, I think he came back and started having matches. And this is for Capital Pro at this point. WPW had shut down. Capital Pro had kind of risen up as the next Wellington promotion. So, yeah, when I'd been working for WPW doing singles stuff and the odd tag, kind of had a makeshift tag team with Lance Happick. We teamed together a few times and just got destroyed by the Wainui Express a few times. And yeah, so Jimmy started this feud thing with the Wainuis, and like they had a show where he came out and they like double teamed him and beat him up, and then we like he was like, okay, cool, we're gonna put this tag team together and we're gonna like have a tag run. I was like, hell's yes, it's something I wanted to do forever.
Uh-huh.
And so we shot that very first vignette where he's working out in my garage gym, like cuts a promo. Why do we express? Like, you beat me up. I'm not a tag team. Tag team is two wrestlers. It cracks me up every time. And so yeah, I come in and cut a promo on them, and like then we go into this big training montage, which is only slightly homoerotic, and like we're carrying each other down the drive on each other's shoulders, and like I'm doing deadlifts and he's chopping me in between the deadlifts, and he's doing curls and I'm chopping him in between the curls, and he's like lying on the edge of my vegetable garden doing like hip thrusters, and I like run up and pour a bucket of water on him, and then we hug and freeze frame. Like we like the reason we did that was like we were just kind of sick of what seemed to be the New Zealand wrestling promo at the time. It's like someone's got their cell phone camera and it's just them against a blank background cutting a promo. And I have never been particularly good at promos. Like it's always been something that I think I'm okay at, and I'm a lot better now. But especially back in the day, I definitely was not. I was really uncomfortable talking to the camera, which I think is a fairly common problem for a lot of guys coming in, right? Like unless you have an acting background or something, then there's a lot of people not good at public speaking, and that's basically what it is. And so we wanted to do something a bit different, and we're like, well, hell, let's do something fun. Like we've wanted to do this forever. Let's make this team about having fun and just making ourselves laugh, pretty much. So we did this vignette. It got put up. People liked it. Thought it was funny. We had that match against the Wainuis, and Jimmy immediately injures his back. Like first spot of the match. We were doing so the spot was like we blindside them and then they reverse it and they toss me out of the ring and they toss Jimmy out of the ring, and then Hayden does a plancher onto us. High spots, faces, so I get clotheslined out over the ropes, and I land on the ground. It's cool. I did like I've never been able to do the back over the head out over the ropes. One of those things that I can't do. So I did like the turn and take a flip out through it. Jimmy goes to do so the way that you want to get out of the ring is you go over the top, you put your hand on the apron, and you basically take a little back body drop off of the apron, right? Gonna pivot yourself over that hand. I don't think he'd ever gone over the ropes in that CPW ring before, and he didn't realize that the ropes are a little bit higher than what you're used to. So he goes to put his hand down, completely misses, and just goes wham with his back on the ring apron, like the unpadded ring apron. And you can see it in the footage. Like he immediately goes, oh! So like immediately got hurt. So we got through the match. He kind of left quite a bit of it to me for like doing the heat and stuff because his back was munted. So he'd kind of get into a spot, tag me back in. So yeah, we did that. And it actually lent itself really well to the next funny promo video, which is like Jimmy getting a letter from ACC. He ruptured a disc which fragmented into his spinal column. Like me nursing him back to health. And I mean, hell, it's us having fun, it's not too serious, but like we're also trying to have good matches as well. Like we're trying to like we're making content. We're trying to trying to push the match. It's not just like, okay, cool, there's a show.
Mhm.
You know, we'll turn up to the show. It's like, okay, cool, there's a show. We're gonna do a vignette or a promo about the match and about the show, and try to get people to laugh about it or to be excited about the matches.
Yeah.
We, I'm pretty sure I came up with the name Bad Bromance. Yeah, and we were like,
It's
screw it, let's just be Lady
yeah,
Gaga themed.
yeah,
um, so like I was at work and I get a call from him. Oh, I get a message from him being like, "Hey, I'm putting together a theme music. I need a recording of you saying bro." So, so like I just said bro a bunch of times into my voice recording app on my phone and sent it to him, and he cut one of it out and like spliced it into Lady Gaga. So that's our entrance music. Caught in a bad bro, man. It's really obvious and really funny. Yeah. So we we ended up getting put into the so Capital Pro was going to do this. They were getting Charlie down for a show.
yeah,
And they're like, okay, cool. We're gonna like have this Roberts Invitational Battle Royal. So everyone's like, the people are gonna have a match to see who should wrestle Charlie. And we were toying with the idea of like doing a split, and we decided not to do it, but we thought it would still like give us material, you know. So like we did the did the promo where it's like, oh no, you know, Daniel Martins actually wants to be in a tag team with Charlie Roberts. Jimmy's, you know, depressed because Daniel's cheating on him, even though he actually hasn't.
yeah,
Like maybe this relationship's getting a little bit more than tag team partners, and oh god, what's happening?
right.
And so like gets to the end of the match, and Jimmy pulls a photo of Charlie, like a promo photo of Charlie Roberts out of his tights. He's like, "I found this in your bag, you whore!" And slaps me, gives me a tombstone. And so like that kind of set up things being a bit rocky for the next few months. You know, like we
Yeah,
continue as a tag team, but Jimmy doesn't really trust Daniel, and
yeah,
Daniel's like, I've done nothing wrong. What's going on? And yeah, so we ended up doing when was that? It was so in January. Had a match against the Maniacs champs, Fashion and Passion.
yep.
I would wrestle those guys anytime again as well. Like I putting them over here. I thoroughly enjoyed that match.
There you go, Fashion and Passion. Mr. Martin's
Yeah,
putting you guys over.
yeah, no, they were fun. Give me a spot later on for some shout outs as well, because yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, so we had that match, and during it, Jimmy, with the way that we told the story was like Daniel. It was kind of us ripping off the Bret Hart and Owen Hart split, where Bret's too selfish to tag Jimmy in. I'll just tag Owen in and win the match, and so Owen turns on him. But instead, it's so I got beat down at the start of the match, and then they turn on Jimmy, and Jimmy's like crying out for me to come and save him, but I'm too hurt to do it.
Yeah,
And then eventually I get up and save him, but he's like, "No, Daniel, you betrayed me again for the last time." And he runs backstage. Fashion and Passion have their way with me, and they're beating on me in the middle of the ring. And Jimmy comes back out with the kendo stick, and he stands on the apron, or stands on the stage doing the Sandman pose with and the crowd pops because it's, oh, Jimmy's back to save him, and he lays into Fashion and Passion, and James Bombard was with them as well, so he lays into them, sends them packing with the kendo stick, and I get up and hug him and turn around to yell at them, and he cracks me in the back with the stick. And it's funny hearing watching the footage back. You can hear people in the crowd going, "No," because like somehow
like it's a genuine no.
Yeah, like somehow we've managed to like turn this almost like this thing that we put together almost as a joke. Like we've managed to kind of get over with it.
Yeah.
There's like, people wearing our t-shirts in the crowd and actually cheering for us even though we're supposed to be heels. Yeah, a bit awkward. Anyway, I screwed up taking that kendo stick shot.
Ooh.
So I was all fine for it. I was like, oh wait, I should spread my back out to spread this impact. And so I went to like flare my lats out, but in doing so I pulled my elbows back. And
Oh.
so the kendo stick just catches me right across the back of both arms and doesn't touch my back at all.
Oh no.
So I had this like massive welt lump on my tricep for a couple of weeks because I just got like the whippy end of this kendo stick, which we made with some bamboo sticks that we got from Bunnings and some gaffer tape.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, that hurt a lot. And so yeah, that set up the storyline that we're on now. So the next CPW show was Jimmy against Charlie Roberts, with me as the special guest referee. And it's like who's he gonna choose thing, but I called it straight down the middle, and that was a great match. They brawled all around the hall and outside, and the fans came all the way through.
Nice.
And that ends with Jimmy passing me the kendo stick and holding Charlie and being like, "Hit him! Prove that you love me and you should be with me." And I'm a good guy now, so I throw down the stick. I refuse to do it. I lower the stick, and Jimmy spits on me and slaps me in the face. And so I deck him with the stick because, like, at this point, he's been antagonizing me through the entire match, and the crowd's been going, beat his ass, Daniel. I'm like, no, I'm being a good guy. I'm calling it down the middle, and so I finally snap and whack. Charlie hits a super kick and the top rope elbow, and I count the 3. And like this sends Jimmy off the deep end, and then we're supposed to have a match, and it just devolves into this big brawl into the crowd. And then I got on the mic in the ring and I cut a promo calling him a bitch and saying, okay, next, fine, well, we're going to do this, but we're going to do this my way. It's going to be no holds barred. And then 2 weeks later, we went into Corona lockdown.
Yeah, we did.
So, yeah. Storyline currently on hold, as is all of New Zealand wrestling.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's looking like there will be a Capital Pro show in about 3 and a bit weeks.
Yeah, at the moment,
the 4th of July, assuming that we come out of lockdown properly and everything. So yeah, it's looking like we'll pick up the storyline there. But yeah, I mean, hell, it's been something really fun. Yeah. I've never worked as a tag team wrestler before this. Like I've been in random tag teams, but I've never like been a tag team guy. I've always been a singles guy. So it's been something different, something fun, something to take me out of my comfort zone and again get me to learn some new stuff. And yeah, I mean we've kind of become almost known for being the guys who do the vignettes.
Yeah.
Like we've kept trying to better ourselves, and like every show we try to put out a better promo than the one beforehand. So like we had the one where Jimmy Fox was doing his tapes to send to Steve Hansen because he wanted to get into the All Blacks, and it was right before the World Cup.
Yeah.
We've done the like workout montage ones. We did the one where Jimmy wants to break up the team, but we have to get back together because we haven't sold enough Bad Bromance t-shirts to break even on the investment yet.
Yeah.
Fun
times.
Yeah. It's been good. Yeah. I'm having a lot of fun with it.
That's good. Is there anything that you would like to say to anyone? Any advice, any shout outs, or anything you would like to say?
Advice? as we've established, I'm very old at this point. Um, when I was younger, when I was getting into wrestling, like I was 100% convinced, I'm going to be a wrestler. I'm going to be that guy. I'm gonna have the match at WrestleMania, etc.
Hmm. Yeah.
We all get into it thinking that.
Yeah.
I didn't do it right. Like if I could go back and change how I went about wrestling as a whole, then I would do things very differently.
Hmm.
I think get in, get trained, get a certain level of skill, and get out of New Zealand.
Right.
Like this is the thing. New Zealand wrestling can take you to places, um, but it's got a ceiling.
Yeah.
Right? There's a very definite ceiling. You're never gonna like if you just stay here, you're never gonna make it. Like if making it and the ability to make a living as a wrestler is
Yeah.
what you want to do, you can't do it here. Like there's
Yeah.
just no way. Like this wrestling didn't pay for this house, right?
Yeah.
My day job did. Um, so like I see guys who have done it right,
Hmm.
like guys like Travis Banks or Niwa or like the Deadly Sins. I think are a really good example. Like those
Yeah.
guys came into the business a couple of years ago, debuted for SPW. They got around the country. They got good. They got really good at what they did, and then they got out of New Zealand at the right time.
Hmm.
Like by the point at which I had realized, I if like this is the point in time where I need to make a decision. Am I going to go overseas and like try to do something with this? By
Hmm.
that point, I was already like breaking down physically.
Yeah.
like, and yeah, yeah, that's it. Get out, get in, get good, get out if that's what you want to do. And there's plenty of people who are going to be perfectly happy staying here and just like doing wrestling as a thing that they do as well.
Hmm.
Like I'm happy doing wrestling as something that I do.
Yeah.
It's not the only thing that I do, but it's one of the things that I do, and I'm happy with it now. Like
Yeah.
I've come to terms with that. I'm never going to make it, but yeah. Um, you can't just sit here and hope that a talent scout's going to see you and hire you for the WWE because it's not going to happen.
No, no. If it was that easy, then you know most of us would be there by now, wouldn't we?
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Like go to Japan, go to Mexico, go to England, go to the States, maybe go to Australia, but then like I know like there's a lot of Kiwi wrestlers who have gone to Australia and that's just kind of where they've stayed.
Yeah.
I think if you really want to make it, then you need to think bigger.
Yeah.
Um, the other advice that goes in with that is, for the love of God, take good care of yourself. Like I was such an idiot when I started training. I didn't work out properly. It's like, oh yeah, I don't need to train legs. I don't need to train back. I just need big chest and shoulders and arms. It's like no,
Yeah.
I just ended up with these horrible imbalances, which contributed to getting injured more,
Yeah.
which contributed to being more out of shape.
Hmm.
Like if I could go back in time and slap the crap out of my 19-year-old self and like train myself properly, be like, right, you're actually going to do cardio. You're actually going to do squats and get strong and not just
Yeah.
do like 3 sets of dumbbell flies and concentration curls and then go home.
Yeah.
Like, get into I didn't get into semi decent shape until I'd already been wrestling for bloody 8 years or something, or until I'd already been training for 8 years and had like started wrestling for two. And I didn't get into what I'd consider relatively good shape until I came back in 2017, at
Yeah.
which point that was like my 10th year in wrestling.
Hmm.
Like, there's just the wrong way to do things. Um, and yeah, I mean, if you're just starting out, wrestle. Like, get on as many shows as you can. Get to meeting different people. Try to get into different companies. Like, when I started wrestling, you either wrestled for KPW, or you wrestled for WPW, or you wrestled for IPW, and that was it. Like, you would work their shows. You had no opportunities to work all this other stuff. But now there's, what, 9 or 10 different companies running around the country?
Yeah, yeah,
More, right?
yeah,
Like, there's 2 in Wellington. There's 3 in the South Island. Christchurch have 2, and plus there's SPW.
yeah.
There's, what, like 4 companies in Auckland or whatever.
Yep.
Like, get to make those connections. Try to get on different people's shows. Like, get your name out there. Get all of the experience that you could, because like only working part time, because that's what it is in New Zealand. Like, it's a part time thing. If you're
Yeah.
like, we just had this, was just at the seminar with Niwa, right?
Mm.
He was saying, like, they do 9 days in a row in Mexico.
Yep.
Or like 6 days on, few days off. And I was like,
Yep.
well, you have more matches in a month than I had in my first bloody 3 or 4 years put together. Of course, you're going to get better doing that.
Yeah.
But with the limited amount that you can do here, not being able to work every day, like, I think my busiest year I was working every 2 weeks, like a match every 2 weeks. And I think that's something you should be aiming to do if you're looking to get better. Like, get on as many shows as you can, work with as many different people as you can.
Mm.
And yet train your ass off.
Yeah.
Don't just expect to get better just from working matches. Like, you need to be taking bumps and working on your timing, and
Yeah.
you know, yeah, I mean, hell, yeah, there's so many different things that I would do differently if I had my time in wrestling again. But
Yeah.
you know, I'm the old guy now.
Hey, age is only a number, my friend.
That grizzled vet to steal Chad Howard's gimmick. Yeah, I don't know. I got a couple of. I'm not ready to hang up the boots yet, but give it another couple of years and we'll see. Like, I feel the bumps the next day a bit more now.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's the thing. There's an expiry date, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's only so many bumps you can take.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hell, as far as shout outs go, God, there's just way too many people, you know. Wrestling, I don't think I'd be the person I am today if it wasn't for wrestling. Like, I have made some of my very best and longest known friends through wrestling.
Mm.
And like, they say it's like a family, and I think that's legitimate, you know.
Yeah.
Like, the connections that you make through wrestling, they will last.
Yeah.
You know, shout out to Charlie Roberts and Jimmy Fox. You know, they've been there for me for a long time. Hell, Graham was the first person to like take a chance on me.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that it was Graham who helped to get me my first match, and he gave me a shot at the main event as well.
Yeah.
Like, that was something that I never thought I was going to get to. Shout out to Jay Marshall for giving Bad Bromance a spot in CPW, giving us a place on the card and a way to live out a dream of doing something we've wanted to do for years.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's too many people, man.
Yeah.
Thanks to you for having some good matches with me, and one terrible match, but we won't talk about that one.
No, because we know who was in the crowd for that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, hell, there's a lot of guys coming up now who I think have a bright future. Yeah, there's too many to name them all, but like I think I had one of my very favorite matches ever with Cam Owens.
Right.
The last Hughes show in Wellington, that was a lot of fun. I've had fun matches with Spencer and with Sam Black. Yeah, hell, yeah. I don't know, man. There's too many people to shout out to.
Yeah, there is. If you know Mr. Martins, then you know who he means.
Yeah, I love all of you.
Yeah. What is next for Mr. Martins? How is for you? What is your next goal? What kind of goals do you have coming up?
Goals. I don't know, man. Like, I want to keep going. I'm trying to rehab my body, trying to hold it together for long enough to keep wrestling. But I'm starting to fall apart a bit. Like, my bad shoulder is no longer my bad shoulder. My other shoulder is now my bad shoulder. So, yeah. I want to keep going with this stuff that me and Jimmy are doing. Like, we're having a lot of fun, and we'll see where that takes us. I'm wrestling less shows these days. I'm not getting up to Auckland as much as I used to. You know, life gets in the way. So I'd like to get up there a few more times. Yeah, just keep on keeping on.
Thank you very much for taking the time out and giving us a share of your story, and pretty much giving us an inside look of your history up to the point that you're at now. I hope lockdown has been not too hard on you, as it is. Everybody's got different ways of dealing with it.
Well, I've got my own like garage gym, so that's basically all I've done.
Yeah, months. Definitely.
But I've done nothing but weights and no cardio, which has not been the best for me.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, guess it's cardio time now.
Yeah, team no cardio.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on, bro.
Thank you very much. No worries, man. Hey, man, finally got you on. Thank you very much. And I'll catch everybody on the next episode of Behind the Wrestler.